Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to allow a few minutes for more of our families to get home from work and everything else going on in their life to join us. So at a couple minutes after 5:30, we'll begin today's event. Thanks for joining.
So Moni, are you recording this too? Okay, all right.
We can talk after about posting.
Edit this, edit that. No, I'm just kidding.
I can do that.
Just kidding.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I see folks are still logging in. We had a little over 30 folks who registered for today's event. So I'm going to give them just a couple of minutes to get home and get logged in before we get started. Thank you again for attending today's event. If you have questions at all during this time, you can feel free to send that using the chat or the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Thank you. We'll get started in just a couple minutes. All right, folks, aloha and welcome to our first Aikane o Nuuanu event of 2021. This is also our first in a series of coffee talks with our wonderful new principal, Uemae. Tonight's meeting will also serve as our official general membership meeting for this quarter. I'm Moani Wright-Benos, the president of Aikaneo Nuuanu, your parent-teacher organization. Welcome. Thank you so much for attending and showing interest in our school. Just a few housekeeping notes. We are, of course, using Zoom. All the panelists' video and your microphones are muted. If you have questions throughout this event, feel free to send that over in the chat or the Q&A box right there on the bottom of your Zoom screen. I'll be monitoring it, taking questions live throughout this event. It is meant to be a dialogue with principals, so send those questions over. We did get a few from you in advance, and so we'll make sure that we also ask those. If we're not able to get to all your questions by the time our event ends at 6:30 tonight, we'll work together with principal to, get those answers and get that out to our families to make sure you have all the answers that you need. So before we begin, if you can indulge me and let me give you a 1 to 2 minute speech about Aikaneo Nuuanu, and just share with you a little bit about some of the highlights from last year. Of course, we're continuing to work in this new world, virtual environment, thanks to COVID-19. And, as families, as parents, as a board, we are constantly evolving and trying to make sure that we're meeting your needs and making sure that you and your keiki get all the information and the support they need by bringing together, collaborating with our teachers, with our administration, with our community to support you. Last year, we were lucky enough to host 4 virtual events, a couple of talk story sessions with our principal, Mr. James Toyoka. We also held a social emotional type of workshop with a psychologist. And finally, we ended the year with a fun holiday get together where our kids came together, listened to some fun holiday music and made some crafts. If you did attend that event, all of your keiki did win a holiday prize for participating in a scavenger hunt at the end. We are working right now on the details on how you can come and claim your prize for your keiki. So be on the lookout for a future Aikane email to let you know how you can redeem that prize, because I know all of our keiki, including mine, were really excited to win something at the end of that event. We also held 2 fundraisers. One was with Foodland, Give Aloha program, and we also sold some McDonald's coupon books, as well as held our annual membership and donation drive. And thanks to the participation of all of our wonderful families, we did raise and net in profit about $3,500. So thank you so much. $3,500, just to put into context, actually air conditioned 1 room. So about a little over $7,000. We raised a little over $7,000. We can air condition an entire building at Nuuanu Elementary School, which has been one of our key milestone projects that we have been working on over the past few years. And I would love to see that completed by the time my children graduate in a few years. So that's one of the reasons we're raising funds, as well as we're wanting to make sure we're raising money to support our teachers. Many of them, use some of their own money out of their pockets to purchase equipment that is necessary in order to support our keiki. We want to make sure that we can support the school if there's any PPE, related items, if there's technology upgrades. And so that's why it's really critical that we have these fundraisers and we get the support of all of our families. So again, thank you so much. We are currently working and about to kick off our spring fundraiser, which I promise is going to be fun and interactive for the whole family, while also raising some money. I don't want to give away too much yet, but we will be sending out that information very, very soon. And if you can mark in your calendar, save the date now. That fundraiser is going to run from March 1st until the 12th. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our new principal, Ned Uemae. You finally can see him without a mask. You probably have noticed him as you're dropping off your children in the morning out there, helping to, greet our kids and bring them out of the cars, but always with the mask. So now you can put a face to the name. So, Ned, why don't we just start off? This is the first time our families are having the opportunity to meet you and get to know you a bit. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Ned Uemae. Can you hear me? Am I loud enough? Can you hear me? Okay, good. So I was a bit, I guess, in the DOE for over 20 years. I started off as a teacher at Kalani High School, and I've been fortunate to make stops at various schools like Kaliuka, my Elementary, Stevenson Middle School, Kaluala Elementary School, and I ended up here at Nuuanu, just starting on January 19th. So I, on my spare time, I do enjoy like playing basketball, watching sports, and so forth. But yeah, so I think for me, a lot of things that I do is primarily just working. I just love to work because I love helping kids. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Awesome. Ned, why don't you tell us a bit? I mean, like you said, you've been at MIA, but why Nuuanu? What was appealing about coming to our school?
When I look at Nuuanu Elementary School and I saw all the wonderful things happening, the awesome kids, the staff, I mean, they work hard. And, for me, when I found out, there's a good parent support group, for me, it was a no-brainer. For me, I love working with kids. That's my passion. And, when I can involve parents and work with parents as well, and, you know, along with working with the teachers, I mean, that's the completeness right there. And so for me, I was super excited when there was an opening, and I've been blessed that I was hired to be in this position.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you for sure. And you have had a very exciting first month on the
Sure,
job.
sure,
I
sure,
think in your very first week, there was a water main break, a big storm with some shingles maybe flying off the roof. I mean,
sure.
I mean, again, very exciting, not kind of our normal, but what's your impression so far of Nuuanu Elementary?
Oh, the campus is beautiful. I know the welcoming was kind of crazy, like you mentioned. My first day I walked in, the custodian came to me, and then we have a slight problem, I was like, well, what's the problem? Here, come with me. And the tree fell on top of the classroom, right? It just split because it was so windy. And that was my introduction from walking onto the campus. And then by 11:30, like you said, there was a water main break, so I had to usher all the students home. But the campus is beautiful. I love the kids. They have so much energy. I know we're in some kind of strange times right now. But coming to school every day is like coming home to family. I just love coming there because even the teachers, they're super awesome. Like they work hard for the kids. They're there to support not just the kids, but even myself and the other staff as well. So um, for me, I look at it as a positive, and I just want to continue moving the school forward.
Awesome. Well, welcome to our rainy, windy
Yeah.
school where you're constantly having to watch the trees around. You did say, at the end of what you just shared, that you want to make sure the school continues to move forward. And I know it's really early and you're probably still getting to know the staff and the parents and what's going on at the school. But at this point, do you have kind of any inclination of where you see the future of Nuuanu or what some of your goals may be for our school?
So for me, when I first came on board, I always think about safety, making sure our students are safe, making sure our staff and faculty are safe. And so, making sure that, we follow the Department of Education's return to school plan with 6 foot social distancing, everybody wearing a mask, making sure we wash our hands. So for me, the very first thing that I always look at is safety. And, for parents, especially, you drop your children off at school every day, and you want them to make sure that they come home safely. And that's my priority right there, is to making sure that, your child goes home safely, and making sure our staff is safe as well. I also, for me, I always love seeing kids out of their element of the classroom. Like, don't get me wrong, like the classroom is important, but for me, I like to do things outside of school, like, like after school activities, or just helping Iconic with the different types of activities they want to do. I know it's kind of tough right now because the DOE has all these restrictions on social gatherings, people on campus, So once that opens up and we're allowed to do things, then I'm going to try my best to provide after school activities for our children. Either we can even do even light activities. I'll work closely with Iconic. I know right now our hands are tied because of all this COVID, but hopefully we'll be able to open up soon and start doing some activities. So that's what I really want to do. Yeah, and work with our parents as well. So
That sounds fantastic. I don't know. One of the things we did hear from some families last year was the desire for more after school programs. So I think, the families, I'm speaking on behalf of them and from a survey we had done at the end of last year, I think everyone would be welcome to the idea of additional activities, again, when it is safe and our keiki
Sure.
can properly return to school. So that's very exciting. Going back to safety, I did notice there are some new nene feet there on campus. Why don't you
Right.
tell us a bit about that and if you can update us? It's been a while actually since we've talked about the safety protocols that are happening
Okay.
at Nuuanu. If you can shed some light
Sure.
on what's going on nowadays.
Okay. So when I first arrived, we did have X's on our campus, but not around the entire campus. But again, not all the students were back in school yet, right? So I was having some conversations with some teachers, and they were willing to come in on a weekend, so they came. A bunch of teachers came in on the weekend with their families, and we just painted some nenes 6 feet across the entire campus. So it makes it easier for our students when they come out during recess or they come out during lunchtime. They're always 6 feet apart by standing on the nene feet. And so with everybody's help, I think we might have done it within like an hour, hour and a half. We got it done around the entire campus. And so for me, like I said, my number one thing is safety. And I want to make sure, the children are safe at all times, making sure that they're wearing their masks, making sure like our water fountains, where they're covered so that the kids don't use, drink from the water fountain, but they have their hydro flasks, or if they need cups, we can give them cups too. But just everything that I want to do is making sure that our kids and our faculty is safe, especially during these crazy times, the social gatherings and so forth. So even playing at recess and so forth, we're trying to make sure that we develop some procedures in place so that we can keep our kids safe as well.
Awesome. And I'm sure that job is getting a little bit more challenging as more children return to school.
Yes,
And today
yes.
was your first day for fourth graders, right? So we have almost
Um,
everyone back on campus now.
this week is fourth grade. Yes, this week is fourth grade. Correct. Yes.
Today was the first day of one of the cohorts then, or
Yeah,
actually,
cohort. I'm sorry. Yeah, cohort A. Yeah, cohort A came today, right? Because Monday was a holiday, not a holiday, but it was a PD day. So yeah, so today was cohort A came today. Yes.
awesome. Have you learned any lessons so far? As more children are returning on campus? Anything that you might have changed, or how's it going with so many kids back on school? I guess.
I guess by having them come back slowly, it's kind of helped us out in making sure that our procedures are safe, making sure that we have sufficient supplies of we have enough supplies of PPE and so forth for all our teachers and so forth. But fourth grade, this is the teachers were kind of a little apprehensive at first, I think, because this is the first time they're going to get to see their kids, but they were excited as well. And so, when we saw the kids, I was excited to see the kids, and the kids were very excited to be back in school. And as I was making my ways from class to class, getting to see them finally, because I only saw them online. I've never seen them face to face. So for me, I was excited, and I'm happy that they're back in school. And I look forward to having fifth grade coming back in March. So, yeah.
Awesome. When is that in March? Do you know off the top of your head when fifth
So
grade is returning?
March 1st is when the students fifth graders come back. March 1st. Yes.
Awesome. So in March we'll have all of our students back in rotating
Yes.
schedules, of course.
Yes. 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 Right.
Great. Do you foresee any changes in scheduling between now and end of year, or you at this point we'll probably
You
stay?
know, I think we're probably going to keep the schedule the way it is. I'm still trying to learn to see how many kids are in each classroom. If we were to have everybody come back, if we were, we got to make sure that the 6 feet social distancing is within each classroom. Looking at the numbers, it looks like a lot of students are face to face. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be possible to have all 22 kids in a classroom 6 feet apart. So, looking at that, we probably will have to continue doing this cohort A, cohort B schedule, unless miraculously we get like 5 more portables that are put in within the next month or so. But I think we're just going to have to we're going to continue the schedule as is.
Great. I'm just hoping the vaccination continues to come out and our numbers
Sure,
go down.
sure,
Um,
sure, sure.
And before families, I am asking questions that was previously emailed. Again, don't forget, if you have questions at any point during this dialogue and conversation, feel free to throw it in that chat or that Q&A box at the bottom. I will be taking those questions as well. I'm going to move on to another question that we did receive from some parents is, can you help us to clarify the drop-off and pickup procedures for, especially for families who have multiple children? I think that
Sure.
at one point, all the, you could drop both keiki off or 3 keiki off all at the same time, and there might have been some changes that occurred. So can you let us know what's the proper way to do that moving forward?
Okay, so initially I think it was first grade, kindergarten, and second grade. Initially, that those are the first groups that came back. And then we had third grade come back in January, and then fourth grade came back this week. So the drop off, I know some families have multiple siblings. We try to encourage everyone to drop off their child during the designated time. So for example, first grade and third grade, the drop off time is from 7:40 to 7:50. The next drop off time is for kindergarten and fourth grade, which is from 7:50 to 8 o'clock. And the last drop off is second grade and then fifth grade from 8 o'clock to 8:10. But I understand, traffic, people may arrive earlier, people may arrive a little later. But we try to encourage parents to drop it off during that designated time because we want to make sure that we have the social distancing. But of course, I understand, we have to go to work and, sometimes we have to drop both children off at the same time, which is understandable. But just realize that, we have the markers on the ground. We have the markers in the covered gym, 6 feet apart. I think we're able to maintain if everybody was there to maintain 6 feet social distance, we'd be okay, but it would be crowded, so for the safety of your child and the safety of our staff, it would help us if you could drop off at that designated time. But again, things come up sometimes, we're a little early and we have to drop them both off. That's fine. Yeah.
And I noticed the teachers are often there, depending on the different grade levels as well, helping to escort
Correct.
their class up or down.
Right, right.
I have a
So
question. Can the back gate be open to accommodate the drop-off time?
that is a great question. We're having this discussion and things are coming up left and right at me. And I'm like, okay, let me figure out what's going on. What's the current procedure in place? So as of right now, when I went back there on the gate, it said it opens from 8 o'clock to 8:15. That's what the current time is open for. So the custodian will be back there to open the gate around 8 o'clock, and then he's going to close it at 8:15, just for safety reasons, because there are some people that, from what I understand, when we left it open in the past, there are some community members that walk through our campus, which we feel it's not safe at this time for them to do that. So we have to find people to monitor that gate. But the custodian will be there. He'll unlock it a little bit around 8 o'clock, and then he'll close it at 8:15.
Okay, so then the grades that get dropped off or should be at school before 8 o'clock would still need to proceed through the front gate then?
Yeah, I would suggest coming through the front. It's much safer coming through the front. Yeah. And then we have people monitoring the children by the gym and also by the front of the cafeteria.
Great. I have another question that came in. If we have multiple children, is it preferred to drop off one and then go and park and wait for the second drop off time?
That would be recommended, but I know parents got to work. So if you do have to drop them off, I understand. We like I said, we do have enough. I don't know if we have enough room, but we have the 6 foot markers around the whole cafeteria. If you have an upper grade and a lower grade, the upper grade, which is third, fourth, and fifth, they're in the gym. So the gym has like 80 markers across the court. And by the cafeteria, we do have markers around the cafeteria. So the kids do get escorted within that 10-minute span. So it kind of relieves the amount of people in the area. So I guess to answer your question, if you have to drop your child off earlier, I guess you could. But again, we try to encourage for social distancing and gatherings, if you could use the designated time.
Got it. Let me ask you another follow-up question to that. If
Okay.
I'm famous for being late, so I'll use myself as the example. My child's late after the time, what should they do? Typically, they would have went up to the office, got a tardy slip. Is that
Right.
still the procedure?
Right.
Or is there some...
So right now, everybody who gets out of their vehicle, we do a temperature check for all students. But if your child comes in late, they come to the office. So the teachers have made and have informed the students to go to the office, get a tardy slip. And what we'll do is we'll also do a temperature check when they get to the office. And then we call the parent in and they get scoldings from us. No, I'm just kidding. We don't do that. So they just come in and then we do a temperature check, we give them a tardy pass, we ask if they're getting lunch, and then we mark it down so that when lunchtime comes, they can get a lunch. Yeah. And then they
Awesome.
go make their way to class. Yeah.
Well, you'll be familiar with my phone number then, unfortunately. Thank you for clarifying that. There are many
Sure.
families who have multiple
Right.
children at school, and so we want to make sure that we're
Right.
getting the most up-to-date information on
Sure. Sure.
protocols. So thank
Okay.
you. I'm going to switch over to some class experiences
Okay.
right now. Are there any plans to bring back the gifted and talented class at Nuuanu Elementary?
Okay. So I'm not really familiar with how that went over here. But what I do know is a lot of the staff that were doing like these special classes on like STEM and so forth, because of the distance learning that was needed to be done, a lot of those teachers now moved away from doing those special classes, STEM or PE or whatever, and now they're put into the kind of like into the classroom or into distance learning. So maybe when we get our resources back and everybody's back kind of to normal, then we can kind of like assign these particular teachers now into different roles. But right now, a lot of them are doing the distance learning for like third, fourth, fifth, or K, or for 1 and 2. So our resources are really spread thin right now. But there's always a possibility when school gets back to normal, when we get back to the new normal, that we could bring it back. I'm not sure what it looked like before, so I can't really comment on that.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
understandable in the situation we're in. I'm going to hit a couple more hard questions. It's the second half of
Sure.
the year. There's
Sure.
typically a lot of fun activities that the
Right.
kids, the families really look forward to. Spirit Week being one. May Day is a big thing at Nuuanu
Right.
Elementary. Definitely some grade specific items, and I'm going to ask you about fifth grade separately. But are there any plans or foreseeable plans right now for any of those kind of traditional activities we would have, even if it's different?
Okay, so for Spirit Week, we will have Spirit Week, but it will be a little bit, I guess, more toned down than what it was in the past. I wasn't here, like I said, in the past, but I know there was a big production on the last day. Everybody had like activities on the lawn and so forth. But just for everybody's safety, we'll do have themes every day. Our student council worked hard on coming up with different themes. The kids came up with different themes, so we'll do that throughout the week. Along with, we're working with Iconic on doing a dance fit, right, activities. So we'll have those things, and hopefully parents can get involved with that at home, and to get some healthy exercise in, because I know kids are at the computer, all day sometimes, right? So we will try to incorporate some kind of healthy fitness dance thing during Spirit Week, and if at home parents can also engage in doing those activities to support their children, that'll be awesome. But again, it's not going to be like a big thing on Friday where there's a big thing on the lawn and a big field. Just due to social distancing and making sure everybody is safe, we probably won't be doing that. And even for May Day, it doesn't look very promising like we'll have anything, because again, the DOE still has their restrictions up with visitors on campus and big large gatherings and so forth. So just for everybody's safety, we probably will not have a May Day program per se. I can check with the teachers to see what other things we can do, and I can also work with Iconic to come up with different activities that are safe and making sure that we meet the DOE guidelines. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm a PR person, folks, so let me just do that plug one more time. During Spirit Week, it's going to be the second week of March. That is when our fundraiser will be. And as Mr. Uemae just shared, it is a dance fit. So it's an opportunity for you to get your kids signed up. They can go and ask grandma, grandpa, families, community members, friends, hey, donate so that I get up and get dancing and get moving. The whole family can join in on that fun. The whole idea is that we're going to get well together, so we're not all sitting down all the time. We're moving, we're getting active, and also raising some funds to support the school that we all love. So again, please mark that down and look forward to more details that will be coming out soon. I have a few more questions coming in as well. So let's go. So those are two of the big activities that hit all the grade levels. Fifth grade, it's been rough, for fifth graders last year and this year as well. It's their culmination year, the year that they graduate, and there's so many, ceremonial activities that they would typically do to really culminate that experience here at Nuuanu Elementary. Are there any plans right now for fifth graders with regards to maybe it's yearbook or graduation ceremonies or anything? Have you guys started discussing that?
Yes, so I did talk with our two fifth grade teachers, and we are planning some type of graduation ceremony. We're still working out the details, but there will be something I think most likely it would look like a drive-by possibly, because again, social distancing, social gatherings. So it looks like it's going to be a like a drive-by, probably maybe after school. But again, we're still working out the details. I don't want to give false information up front, but we'll have something in place for our fifth graders for graduation. Yes.
Awesome. And if there are fifth grade parents who want to get involved or support
Mhm.
the planning, like any advice on how they can go about doing that?
I guess for me, what you could do is maybe you can shoot me an email and then I'll try to take your information down. I can pass it along to the fifth grade teachers and as they're planning and even with our committees that are planning, if they need support, we can always reach out. That would be awesome if they wanted to do that. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to stick with the events because, of course,
Okay.
everyone's looking forward to events. Are
Right.
there plans to have summer school this year?
There are plans to have summer school. It'll be an unofficial summer school. And what I mean by that, it'll probably only be for our Nuuanu students. So that way we can just focus on our kids. I know some schools have other kids coming in and so forth. But for us, we'll be at unofficial summer school. We're working with Icone to see whether or not they'd be interested in, running the summer school this year. But, it is kind of a scary time right now, but, all these COVID issues coming up and so forth. So I think I'll touch base with you guys again, Icone, but it looks like maybe we'll just run it from the school side unless Icone is interested in kind of running it. But last year, no, Icone didn't run the summer school because of the situation we were in, right? So again, we'll probably be an unofficial summer school site, and we'll just focus on providing a program for our students or our vulnerable students as well. Our vulnerable students are important too, so we got to make sure we take care of them.
Wonderful. Do you have any inclination if summer school would be virtual, in person, or combination at this point in time, or details still need to be worked out?
Yeah, I was thinking it was going to be more face to face, but maybe we could kind of poll some of the parents to see what they prefer, distance learning or face to face. But I know I think I'm kind of distance learning out already because we've been doing distance learning for so long. So I mean, for me, I would rather have the kids come face to face. That's when the education is much better, face to face. But again, we have to get the personnel from our teachers as well. I mean, they've been working super hard during this pandemic. It's not easy doing virtual, doing online, and things like that. So they see the kids every other day and this and that. So I want to make sure that teachers are comfortable with actually doing face to face as well, and if they're even interested in doing the summer program as well.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. We need to definitely send a big mahalo out to our teachers
Yeah,
who have been learning how to teach in a different way while juggling different schedules and
sure.
different activities. So definitely, they've been through a lot, and we appreciate everything they've been doing to support our kids.
Thank you.
Let me go to a couple more event-related questions. Spring break is also right around the corner. At this point, do you know what the school and DOE policy is going to be with regards to spring break and maybe families who might want to travel?
So I think yeah, families want to travel, that they're welcome to do that, but I think when they come back, they gotta just follow the state guidelines. I believe they have to get either COVID tested, like I don't know, is it 48 hours before their flight, and they have to receive their results back before they get on the flight. But if not, if they land and they didn't get their results before they took off, coming back to Hawaii, I think they would have to quarantine for 10 days, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess as parents go and they figure out their travel plans and so forth, just kind of put that in. Remember to get your vaccine, yeah, not vaccine, but your COVID test prior to leaving the mainland or wherever you're coming from. So that way your child can get back to school on the 22nd, March 22nd, Monday on time. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you know if the same policy holds true for neighbor island travel? I know that if you travel from Oahu to a neighbor island, you need to get a test, but I'm
Mhm.
not sure on the way back if the DOE might have a policy for that as well.
Shoot, that one I'm not sure about neighbor islands, but I do know certain counties that have certain policies that you have to follow, right? So my thing was just jump on a canoe and swim or whatever. That way you don't have to worry about the getting the COVID test and all that. That's my recommendation, but yeah.
If you're paddling, we're all jumping on. Well, along that is a question that we'll follow up on families. We'll
Okay.
make sure we get that for those
I'm
who
sure
might
there's a
plan.
website you can go to, there's a website you can go to see on the trips and all that. But I know like Hawaii has different kind of rules,
Yeah,
than the Big Island and stuff like that. But that I'm not really sure off the top of my head. I don't know.
no problem. Thank you. I'm going to take some questions that came in live right now. Do you know if we're going to have a yearbook this year?
So we are working on that. Miss Burns and I, we just had a meeting with Jostens, and we're gonna try to get whatever pictures that we can from families or from teachers, because I know we didn't have many activities. Well, I've been here for 19 days, and we didn't really have any activities. And based on what I'm hearing, there were a lot of activities that were canceled in the first semester. So that yearbook may not be as thick as it was in the years in the past, but we're going to try to put together something for the kids. Yeah.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Iconic does have some
Oh,
pictures
okay.
we're happy to send over,
Sure, sure, sure.
later
Okay.
on as well. With regards to next school year, the 2021-2022 school year,
Mhm.
are there going to be plans to or room for cohorts to accommodate all of the students who are right now 100% distant learning? What's the plans to accommodate them if they want to be able to come back in person?
Okay. So, when I looked at the classroom sizes, um, if we wanted to have all the students back, I know lower grades has about maybe 20 students, upper grades, 3, 4, 5, have anywhere between 27 to 30 students. I don't think it's possible to have 27, 30 students in a classroom 6 feet apart. There are going to be some kids in the hallway, on the field, and so forth. There's no way you could put everybody in the classroom. So it most likely would be an A-B schedule again. So half the students will come on one day and the other half will come on another day. Or if there's somewhere we can do some kind of synchronous learning where it's online and face-to-face, but that's really difficult, teaching online and teaching kids face-to-face. I mean, that would be something that I'd have to touch base with the teachers, and everybody's skill level is different. Everybody's comfort level again is different as well with technology, and I want to make sure that the environment is safe for the children as well. I don't want to just pack everybody in a room and we're less than 6 feet or whatever the state guidelines are, and then we're putting other people at risk. So those are things that I really have to take into account before we decide on bringing all the students back into the classroom. So hopefully I answered your question. I don't know if I did or not, but hopefully I answered your question.
You did, and I'll ask you a nuanced question. I'm guesstimating or remembering from an old event that I want to say was around 60 or 70 students who were 100% virtual learning last semester. That number I know might have changed this year. Is there room if all of those students wanted to come back to in-person in the cohort schedule? So you're still splitting the two up. Is there enough room to accommodate them in a cohorts in person?
That I think we could. I think because I think the largest class I saw on record was 30. So if you divide it in half, about 15 kids in a class, I think that would be about the tops, maybe about 15 to 16 students in a class. But to have all 30 at one time, well, that would be almost impossible. I think it would be breaking some social distancing guidelines, and yeah, it wouldn't be safe for everybody. Even for the teacher in the classroom, it probably wouldn't be safe.
Thank you. And it's probably, is it safe to assume at the end of this year or over summer, families will get information where we can opt out again? And if there's going to be cohort next year, 100% distance learning, if those are options, we'll get some kind of communications to let us choose.
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, we're just waiting for guidance from the superintendent, and I know teachers right now are getting vaccinated and so forth. But hopefully the students will be able to get vaccinated too. But I don't know when that will be. But until we get further guidance from the superintendent, I'm almost certain it'll probably be like the same kind of similar schedule to how we have it right now. But again, I have to work with the teachers on that because I want to find out what their comfort level is. I know it was a stressful time for all of us, even for me learning technology and doing these meetings like this. We have to get used to it because everything we did was all face to face. So um, I'm looking forward to it. There's always going to be bumps along the way, but we just need to problem solve and try to find ways to make it work for everyone. Yeah.
Agree. And families are always willing to help. I have
Great.
another question that came in. For
Mhm.
distance learning, as you just mentioned, it's different. there's different challenges associated with it, whether it's technology, whether it's you're being stuck home with your parents,
Right, 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 right.
and different distractions that there might be around. Are there going to be any standardized tests that's administered across our, for our students, and also to show if they're how the students have fared who are 100% distance learning, compared to those who are in a cohort schedule?
Okay, so right now I know the school we use an iReady test, and we have a beginning of the year, middle of the year, and the end of year. So it's kind of like a summative. From you can see the growth from the beginning, from the middle, and to the end. Um, there's also the ESPA, which is for third, fourth, and fifth grade, but that's every year. So they're going to be taking it February, March, well, more March, April, May. But statewide tests, I'm sorry, I think we're taking it in April and May, not March, in April and May. But we do have iReady tests that kind of track the students' progress along the way. It helps us to target where their deficiencies are and where they're really excelling in. And so, that's what we use at the school right now to determine how students are faring.
Thank you. I think one of the questions would be if there's a comparison as well between distance and in person, and seeing if there might be a difference between the two learning modalities, and if they're both faring, about equal, or if maybe,
Oh, okay.
one
Yeah,
might
yeah, yeah.
need additional support or lessons
Sure.
learned. Um, this might be the first year, you've gotten this question. So
No, I think there's a way to track every child on their progress on what they're doing. And I think we could categorize it by distance learning and face-to-face. I'm sure we could do that. To find averages and all that, I'm not sure. It's going to get a little bit more detailed, but we can look at the data individually for each child for distance learning and also for face-to-face.
that's fantastic. I think the families who are distance learning also wants to make sure that they're supporting their child in an appropriate way. And I think that might help them with their decision next year if they're going to continue distance
Sure.
learning or not.
I've heard a lot of good news from like the teachers and so forth that, the parents have been very supportive with their child's learning at home. And, it's not easy. I know that, it's seeing a child and then now you're the teacher in front of the computer and you're trying to get them to get their work done. And, so for the teachers, I know they're really appreciative for the parents who are really involved and, supporting the child at home, because sometimes they want to reach through the computer and talk to the kid or, come on, let's go, but they can't do that. So the teachers are very appreciative of the parents who are there. I know it's not easy. You got work to do and you got to balance your schedules at home. So, but we thank you. We thank you for your support at home.
Thank you, Ned. Appreciate that. Families, again, we're a little over halfway through our event right now. If you have additional questions, just send that over in that chat or that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to go to a couple of questions that were sent in advance of today's event. Do you know if there are any plans to have parent-teacher conferences this year?
Okay. Yes and no questions are easier, for me. Yes and no. It's just putting it out there. Yes and no questions are always good for me. Okay. So when it comes to parent-teacher conferences, it is a process, and it takes a couple of weeks or a few weeks to get phone numbers and scheduling and this and that, coordinating with parents. And looking at the timeline that we have, I think if we were to have parent-teacher conferences, it would probably be at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I'm not sure how productive that would be to have something like that at this time. So for the big picture, if parents had concerns that, want to know how their child is doing, my recommendation is to just contact the teacher individually and say, hey, I wanted to schedule a meeting with you because I wanted to follow up on how my child is doing. That would be probably the fastest way so that you can get immediate feedback instead of, if we were to put something together in the fourth quarter, that would be kind of late to kind of figure out, how the child is doing. Yeah. So my recommendation is to contact the teacher directly, send them an email, give them a call. I know a lot of them use different apps and so forth, and just schedule the meeting. And if you're having trouble, you can always let me know and I can let the teacher know, to give you a call or whatever. But honestly, it doesn't look like we're having a parent-teacher conference, a school-wide parent-teacher conference, but I know there are some teachers who have held conferences or plan to hold conferences with their parents. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we've definitely, heard some feedback from parents. So parents, if, you're wanting that conference with your teacher, definitely reach out to them.
Mhm.
I know many are very, very responsive, or at least everyone
Mhm.
I've personally encountered, and I'm sure y'all are finding the same thing. So reach out, and if not, like you heard Principal said, you can email him
Yep.
as well,
Yep.
and he'll help to make sure you get connected with your teacher.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, any other questions coming through, guys? Does anyone have any more questions? You heard he
Yes or
likes
no questions are
personal
good. Yes and
questions.
no questions are the best questions. Really. Yes and no. That's the best ones.
While we wait for, if there are any more questions from our parents, I did cover all the questions we did receive in advance, as well as those who have come in so far. Let me ask you a little bit more and get to know you a bit more so our families can,
Sure. Okay.
know what makes you tick. What is the best advice you have ever received?
The best advice I've ever received. Okay. So the best advice, let me see here. This person may be online. I'm not even sure if he's online. He's one of my good friends from way back when. The best advice that I received was just to appreciate. That's the one word he just told me, like appreciate the things that you have in life. Um, because don't take things for granted, like even seeing your kids every day, seeing your family and so forth, because you never know what may happen tomorrow, right? So, your significant other, don't forget to give them a hug every so often, right? Because you may not get that chance again, right? So the big word that I've always lived, and from the time, this is like over 20 something years ago, the word that I always live with is just appreciation. Yeah. So just being thankful and appreciative of the things that you have.
That's awesome advice. Something often forgotten when you're in the heat of the moment. So thank
Sure.
you.
I don't
Thank
know
you
if he's
for,
on. He might be online. I'm not sure if he's paying attention or not, but I still remember that when we had that talk 20 something years ago. So,
you want to call out his name, then he'll know.
yeah.
No. Oh, any families, if you have questions, if not, I'm just going to ask a couple more questions. I'll give you something a little easier. It's not a yes or no,
Sure,
but
sure.
let's go sour or sweet. What do you like?
I like things that are sweet. Sweet is good.
Okay, so if we ever want to get you a gift, sweet guys.
Sweet.
Um,
Okay.
what do you call flip flop or slippers?
Slippers. I would go with slippers. Yes.
Football or basketball?
Oh, I love basketball. I love basketball. So I'm gonna go with basketball. Yeah.
Okay, is there a particular team?
Not really. I just enjoy playing it since I was a little kid. I've always enjoyed playing basketball. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm gonna look over right now to our chat, and we actually have a shout out right now, and I'm going to butcher your family's name, so I might not say. Shanbori Ohana, hopefully I said that correct, wants to give a big shout out to Mr. Smith in the 3rd grade for his hard work so far this year, and that their child enjoys learning from him. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
that's fantastic to hear. My child also
Yeah.
has Mr. Smith, and he's very
Yeah.
tech savvy, which is fabulous.
Mr. Smith is an awesome guy. I love Mr. Smith. Yes, and in the 19 days that I've been here, he's awesome. He's a great teacher. So very blessed to have him on board at Nuuanu. Yes.
Awesome. Another question that came in with your extensive experience, you've been at other schools. I'm not going to lie, as a PTO, we often look at Uemae and see what they're doing as well. I mean, they're in our community, so it's always good to learn from, other schools. Is there anything new that you want to bring to Nuuanu? In a perfect world, we're back to normal, not in this COVID environment with all the restrictions.
Right,
Like
right.
what would be something you'd want to bring?
So for me, like I mentioned, I love seeing kids, outside of their element, like outside of the classroom, doing things. And yeah, I was at my for many years, and for me, I just love doing activities. And whether it be after school activities, whether it be during the school year, even in the evening, we've done an activity like almost every month we did something, whether it be Halloween, STEM night. Um, there's family nights over here, right? We did fitness fun runs all day, fitness activities all day. So there's a lot of activities that I can see us doing. Just to hope the weather is nice on those days, and for even after school activities, we've had a lot of opportunity to meet with a lot of outside organizations like Sports Jam, Bricks for Kids. We had karate, we had judo. Those are things that, if parents are interested in doing these kind of activities, I'd be more than happy to reach out to these organizations, and, so we can do these activities for our students. I'm a firm believer that, education doesn't have to just necessarily be in the classroom. It can also be outside of the classroom. And, going to an activity after school is an extra hour of learning to cooperate, learning to be responsible, to be on time, working to learn how to work with other people in whatever activity it is. So by giving students more opportunities of engaging in learning in the morning or after school, it only will benefit them, and that's how I look at it. And my parents, when I was a kid, always put me in these extracurricular activities, and I just loved it, right? So if that's something that I would want, is to bring extracurricular activities and even activities in the evening for our students and our families, to build the ohana, build the families, get together. That's the best time for me. I just enjoy those kind of things.
That's awesome, and we will be happy to help you as well. Get out some information to our families and see if we can get a survey and find out
Right.
what activities are folks looking for. I have something in there that says yes from a parent.
I,
Um,
I have to clarify something though. I know in the chat box this is extensive experience. I wouldn't say extensive. I just have a little bit of experience with doing these things. So don't think like, oh, I'm gonna have all these fabulous things. I just have a little bit of experience, and I'll do my best to make it as best as possible for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you. That's just still amazing. We're thoroughly looking forward to working with you on some additional activities. Um, we talked a little bit while we wait. If families have additional questions, please send that in. I asked you earlier about what's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten, but also what's probably the biggest lesson you've learned now, especially in your education career. Is there a big lesson?
Hmm. I don't know. I think for me, just I try to be as positive as possible. So whatever the situation is, the deal, we've had um so many changes, right? From this to that. And so for me, being positive and being flexible, because if you always dwell on the negative things, it's hard to move forward, right? So for me, it's always about being positive, being flexible. And if it doesn't work out, well, we'll find a way to make it work. We'll just find a way. If it doesn't work out, we'll try another avenue. But for everything that we do, it's for the best interest of our students. And that's just how I feel about that. So I guess the lesson for me is, yeah, being positive and just being flexible.
Awesome. Awesome. Families, if you have, we're almost at time, so I can take a couple more live questions if you have. If not, I'm going to ask one or two more personal questions, and then we'll wrap today's event. You talked some about what you like to do for fun. Let me go over to what's your favorite book or movie of all time and why?
My favorite book or movie of all time. Uh, I used to love going to the movies until the COVID came. My wife and I would go to movies, pretty frequently. Reading books, man, we have to read so much in the deal. We have all these guidelines now and new protocols. I don't know what my favorite book, but I know one of the comedy shows that I do enjoy watching, and they don't have it. It's not new anymore. It's called Friends. I don't know if you guys watch Friends. That's kind of my kind of taste, so I like to watch Friends. For movies, I can watch any kind of movie. I love all kinds of movies, but Friends is something that I just always can chuckle at. So that would be, yeah, Friends.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, okay. Any questions? Any more questions, families? I'm going to give y'all a few minutes, and if not, we can end tonight's event early. So I'm going to do some wrap ups. If you have questions that you haven't, you want to send in before we officially end, please send that over. Again, thank you guys so much for attending our first event. Principal, it's great to get to know you. Great to learn more about your background, what your vision is for Nuuanu, and definitely hear what's going on with the status of our school today. If families have additional questions, you can definitely email me at pres@nuuanuschool.org. I'll happily always compile your questions and we can get that answered on a future event. I can get that over to the principal as well. We are scheduling this as a regular coffee talk. So every month on the second Thursday of the month at 5:30, we will have this. So we can take the entire hour if there's a lot going on and a lot of questions. We can take 15 minutes if there's not a whole lot going on. But we wanted to make sure we got something on the book so you as families know exactly what's happening. You have the opportunity to talk to principal live like this without a mask on in a safe environment. So please mark that on your calendars. We also, of course, have our Icone board meetings typically on the third Thursday of every month. That is open for anyone to attend. So if you'd ever like to attend, go to our website. We always list our Zoom link information there as well. So now you don't have to drive over to the school. You can just join us via Zoom. Again, save those dates, March 1st to 12th for our Dance Fit fundraiser and activity. And of course, save those dates for Spirit Week. More info to come as well for March 8th through the 12th. Please be sure to check out our website if you haven't done so already, nuuanuschool.org. Sign up for our email blast. If you're not, you can do so right on our website. You can follow us on Facebook and social media as well. We're always making sure we're trying to get out the latest and greatest information. So please follow us. And I do have some folks who are, thanking us through the chat. So thank you again, Principal, for being available tonight, for making sure you get all of our families' questions answered. Really appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Families, thank you again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again in 1 month. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Moani. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We'll talk soon.
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a great night with your families.